Welcome to Pitch in the Zone, our weekly gathering of coaches from all over the world that help one presenter refine their 3-minute pitch. We have hailing from Chicago, Michael Marchak, a technologist, a technology evangelist, a speaker, author, and also an investor. Hello, Michael. We have Marco Vetale joining us from Thailand, a serial entrepreneur, former book publisher, and a presentation enthusiast. He's currently also the president of a local Toastmasters club here in Thailand. We have Scotty Spursum, a language coach with an extensive background in banking and investing as well. So lots of investment focus here today. These are our coaches, and then we have past presenters and other people that are just interested in improving their presentation skills. We have Jess Owens, Hi, Chris Dundon, Liederman, and Samantha Borrell, who you may want to take a quick note. If you ever need some corporate gifts, Samantha is your person. With that, I would like to introduce our presenter today, which is Alexander van der Meij. He is the CCO at Optimeyes, a company that specializes in ophthalmology. Now that's a tongue twister for me. And with that, I would like to hand the floor over to you. Alexander, can you very quickly explain to us who your target audience would be so that we can all put on the correct hat when we are looking at your pitch?
So, good morning or good evening, wherever you are on the world. I'm very proud and also honored to be here. And yes, with regards to your question, so it's a mixed field today. I will present later today also in a large startup gathering. So that's not an ophthalmologist. So you are exactly as you are the best. The best audience you should be. So I'm very pleased to just tell a story. So from my perspective, I've simplified everything, and also with regards to keep it super simple. So to make sure that we have got a good way to open the doors to get a conversation started.
Yeah? Excellent.
So this is really the way to look forward. It's not about into the details. That's for later on, but it's get an understanding what we are doing.
Wonderful, very, very good. So Marco also is a timekeeper today. You may see his image somewhere that has now switched to a countdown timer.
Yeah.
It shows you the 3 minutes, and then once.
Okay, then I don't have any time anymore.
Can you see his screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so once he reaches 0, then it will go into a count up timer just to see whether you went over, and he will reset the clock just before you start.
That's
very
generous, Ryan.
With that, the virtual floor is yours, Alexander. Welcome to Pitch in the Zone.
Well, thank you very much to be here. Again, I'm Alexander van der Meij. I'm CCO from Optimeyes. And today I would like to present to you a very special product, which has also won several prizes. And the name is Optimeyes. And that's exactly what we are doing. It's a word game between optimization and eyes. And that is what we're doing. So what we did is we digitalized the patient-specific eye care surgery. So let me tell you something about the eye care industry. So you have to imagine that the eye care industry is very tiny. Everything is about micrometers. And the difference between success and failure within the eye care industry or within the surgery, it's really microns. It's very tiny. And you have to be aware that every eye is different. And at this point of time, yeah, the industry is using, or has the more or less the solution, one size fits all. They don't go into the specifics. And now we go into a more specific field within the eye care industry, and this is the cataract surgery. Maybe you are elderly, or maybe you have someone in your family who had got cataract surgery. Be aware, this is totally normal. This is the most common surgery ever happens in the world. You will have around 30 million cases each year. And to break that down, it's about 75,000 cases per day. But let's assume you would be one of them. So what will happen? We will set you in front of a high-tech device. We will use we will use the technique and get a good picture of your eye. We will set you then in front of the most advanced femtosecond laser and treat your eye. And the question is how we do the treatment. We're doing that on a piece of paper. And isn't that weird that we use high-tech instruments, but the planning will be done on a piece of paper? And that's where we come into play. So what we did with Optimeyes, we used the high-tech information of this high-tech diagnostic device. We create a digital twin. So we digitalize the eye and we specify it and we create out of your eye. So we will drive on the surgery with your eye to get the best possible solution for your surgery. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're doing that for the cataract surgery. We're doing that for the refractive surgery and for keratoconus. And that's where we want to go. We want to treat you as a personal way and not one size fits all. It's about you. It's really be very precise. It's about your eye. And that's where we want to go to. We want to deliver on your special needs. So this is more or less my pitch. I have only one final question for you. If you're interested in eye care or in digitalization, I would be love to have a nice conversation with you. Thank you very much.
Excellent job, really, Alexander. Wonderful pitch, perfect in time. If you would like to stop the screen sharing so we can utilize the real estate here. Thank you. So I really, really love the energy that you bring to the table. You have this really friendly demeanor, absolutely great. And I also loved your slides. They really caught my attention, and I loved the attention to detail in your slide. For example, when you showed the eyes and you said every eye is different, and that picture actually had different eyes in each side. So excellent, excellent job. But let me open the floor to our coaches. Let me start with Michael, who has just put in a couple of comments in the chat, or one comment in the chat. Michael, take it from here.
Sure. So yeah, I haven't, I'm still going to write some more in there, but I'll tell you verbally where we were going. Your start was a bit rocky, and given the fact that I know you're talking to a mixed audience, it may be helpful for you to pick a persona to talk to. So if you're going to be making a specific presentation to somebody that others can relate to, for example, hey, we're talking about this industry here, and this is what we do, and we're looking at, if you're tailored to our investors, here's what we're doing and why it's important to us, because we see this as a very large market for us to address. If it's tailoring it to your customers, or to someone who may be either licensing your intellectual property, or someone who will be buying your software to support, I'm not sure exactly where your software runs, if it runs on these machines that do all this work, et cetera, that you'd be talking with them about how this would make their work that much more easy, accurate, et cetera. But pick somebody to talk to, because when you talk to nobody, you basically wander. And that's how I felt like you were doing, is kind of wandering through the presentation. You told us a few different things, which was fine, but I didn't think you were talking to anybody specifically, which makes it difficult to make a point. The second one too is you need to do some kind of emotional connection with your audience. Talking about eyes is great, but I mean, what would happen if you lost your eyesight and you needed to go in to have one of these machines work on you? Wouldn't you want it to have the most technical, capabilities to be able to support surgery on your eyes? go down that level, like, because everybody's eyes, we see with our eyes, we most of the information we get is from our eyes, right? So when we start talking about having eye surgery, most of us, I mean, maybe just me, I wince. Like, I don't want anything touching my eye. I don't want anything lasering my eye. I don't want these are really important to me. So kind of grab onto that emotional connection people have with their eyes and their eyesight, and bring that emotion into it, because then people are going to be pulled into, like, well, all right, you're going to make it better. Well, that's great, because if I ever have to have this happen to me, I want to make sure that I have the most important or most technologically advanced, most safe, etc., way of dealing with my eyesight. So I think that would be really something that I would want to bring in there to do this. So that's what I got so far. I'll type in some more stuff and let other folks talk, but that's sort of what I want to talk about at the minute.
Excellent, thank you. And we will circle back to you after we get some other feedback as well. And I agree about the start, right? The opening. It is so important. Some people say, your opening and your close are the two most important parts. Whatever you put in the middle, if it's not, top, as long as your opener and your close is really, really powerful, that's what carries your pitch. And there are a couple of ways that you can make it really, really interesting from the get-go. One is perhaps mention a startling fact, right? And you did mention a startling fact later on in your pitch when you talked about the 30 million, and that this is a very common kind of thing. Another way to open could be a question, some thought-provoking question, something that people really have to think about. And perhaps you can even combine those two and ask a question about, something like, does anybody here know what is the most common surgery, or how many of these surgeries we do, whatever it is, right? But something that really pulls the audience in. All right.
May I give you a hint? Would it be an interesting opening to say, cataract surgery is the most common surgery in the world? Are you interested to learn how they plan it?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that gets you off a much, much better start than what you had right now. And again, we are recording this session. I encourage you to go back and listen to it again, and you will see Michael was right on the mark there, that the beginning was a little bit rocky, right? It didn't really pull us in the way that it should have. Marco, you are the next one on my screen. I'm just going today sequentially, whoever I see on my screen. Marco, what have you noticed, and how can you help Alexander improve his pitch?
Yes, I totally agree with what Michael said and what you said. And my suggestion would be, you already have a starting fact, and using that with the emotion thing, like your second slide, cut the first one. Just start with, like, as long as your audience is not American because they don't get the metric system, but say, do you know that 1,000 of a millimeter is enough, to make you blind or to make you see better? Something like that, because that's the fact, right? 1,000 of a millimeter is enough between, seeing good or getting blind. So, and the only other thing is, I love the fact that I understood everything, like what you're doing, what you're trying to fix. And it was one of the rare times when I understand like everything that the pitcher is trying to sell. From a technical point of view, I would have loved hearing more pauses. It was like, never ever a pause. So at some point I wanted just, okay. So if you can find some places where you can put some pauses, it would sound nicer. But it was really great because it was really 100% understanding where you were going and what you were doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Marco. Excellent feedback as always. And next on my screen, Scotty. Scotty, I saw you take meticulous notes as well. The floor is yours.
Great. Alexander, it's a great company concept. And getting back to the similar things that people have said, speed is an issue. Generally, the average spoken words that hits the mark would be around 120, maybe to 150 a minute. So you can gauge your presentations words to that. And also, you don't need to reintroduce yourself because Claudio had already done that. So that can save you a little bit of time. And also, I loved it when you said the product, which is Optimeyes, and it's the combination of optimization and your eyes. And what we do is we help plan specifically to the micromillimeter or the micron needed for your own surgery. I mean, maybe something like that to get it to customize. Because I thought the phraseology, patient-specific eye surgery planning on the first slide is what you do, but it's a lot of words. And it takes a bit for me to intuit. It's like, what do they mean? And maybe customization is a better term, or maybe there's some other term in there that would nail that. Because to me, that's what you're offering. Also, getting back to the emotional pull, what percentage of people do end up with cataract surgery? Isn't it like 90? I don't know, 90% of people that have healthcare? I mean,
probably. So if you are under the age about 65, you will probably undergo such a surgery.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not like, so this is in everybody's future, or hopefully in your future.
I had that opening too, and then they told me, there are some elderly people there, and they don't want to feel old. And if you say that, then.
Well, yes and no. I mean, I look forward to having my vision improve if it's getting worse. Like my sister had cataract surgery, and it opened up her world because her vision was.
Yeah, indeed, it's a fantastic thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and our grandmother was blind, so I'm keenly aware of some eye things and issues around people who have vision problems. The other thing, getting to speed, as you got through the presentation, you were saying we're targeting these 3 surgeries specifically, and you went so quickly through it that while I was trying to listen to you, make some notes, and look at the slide, it zipped through. So I only got cataracts, and I'm not even sure what the other 2 are. So that was a miss for me. I just couldn't get to it. And remember a couple of things. If you're giving a presentation this afternoon, and the person who might be pitching it to their investors doesn't have their meeting until Monday or Tuesday next, you've got this many days that they have to remember your story. So you want to be able to make that emotional connection and go, oh yeah, it's the company that's doing something with the eyes, these 3 surgeries. I get it, because there's a huge market there. And then also, why you? I wasn't quite sure why you are doing this, or why this company got started. Is there some story in there that might give another emotional connection?
Okay. You want to answer? So there are several reasons. So within our board of directors, I have to more or less the seat to go also more outside to ensure that our CEO is not doing all the carry work, and that's why we split it a bit.
Great.
Yeah, but that's not a real. Okay. Well, I understand from Nathan that all other startups are showing a lot of their team members and who all they have a PhD. That's very exciting, but from my perspective, and please help me here with what you're thinking, it's about what are your thoughts and what you would like to do, and who is behind it. That will come next. But I think that's also a bit of a different vision of how you are looking at things. Maybe I have a Dutch vision or a German vision, and Claudio more an American vision, and maybe Jess has or Michael has more the American style. So maybe I have to be more precise on the target audience. If they're more American, I have to tell more about the people behind it.
Yep, clearly. Okay, thank you, Scotty. And I'm surprised you didn't ask the question that you so often ask, Scotty, and that is, why you, right? To me, it just didn't really come out. Like, there are ways that you can build your credibility more, right? So to me, it almost looked like you assumed that everybody already kind of knows why you're doing what you're doing and what makes you special, right? So what makes you and your company uniquely qualified to do what you do. If you can provide an answer to that, and it doesn't have to be an elaborate answer, it can be just a small little statement in there that tells people, aha, these people really are experts in their field. You know, this is what's the driving force behind it. All right. Moving on my screen, the next person is Jess. Jess, have you noticed anything that can help Alexander to improve his pitch?
Yes, just a few quick comments. The first, it took you a lot of time to get into what your company does. And I found that I just kept wondering, when is he going to talk about it? When is he going to talk about it? So I would get to the point a lot sooner. So that kind of helps me frame out the rest of what you're trying to do. That's really important. Another thing you mentioned in the beginning, I think you said that you guys had already won some awards. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So I would have liked to hear more about that. I think that validates your company and what you're trying to do and can add a little more, you know, I think that would be helpful to hear about those. So those are my two recommendations. But otherwise it's a cool product, and, you know, I'd love to learn more about it. So.
Thank you. May I challenge you, the audience here, with regards to the prizes? So I put the logos on it, and if you are not from Switzerland, you will not recognize them. On the other hand, you know, time is very crucial here, and maybe I should answer or should the words from when I introduce the product here, an award-winning product. Would that be sufficient?
I think that would help.
Not really. No.
Well, my question would be, is like, from an award perspective, just, you know, if someone's, you know, doing surgery on my eyes, do I want to make sure that they've had an award, or do I want to make sure that it's extremely precise and can work perfectly on my vision? The award is maybe you had the greatest pitch and you had the best dancing bear that anyone else had on the stage, right? But that's not the kind of thing I need to know. I want to know that your software like rocks, that's going to make sure my eyes are perfect at the end of the day, or whatever it does. I want to know that versus the award part, because the awards can be given for all kinds of things, honestly. So that's why I'd be concerned about just using award winning, because it doesn't really mean much. Who gave the award? Does the award mean anything?
So I should, instead of saying award winning, I had put the logos there and just move on, and would say within the presentation that we have something that we can go into the American market. We have got a CE mark. That would be more the technical part which you were referring.
Maybe, or I mean, if it's like the Swiss version of the Ophthalmological Association, which is made up of a board of ophthalmologists who've endorsed this, then you want to say that, right? Because that's your market, that's what you're doing. But if it was an award for a pitch or an award for some unique, you know, way you've used coloring in your slides, nobody's going to care. So the award piece is very nebulous and doesn't give me any information. If it's very specific to who you're doing and really credentializes you, that makes a difference, though. If the ophthalmologists have stood up and they gave us an award for this, and they've been lining up at the door waiting for us to bring this out because of its you know, unique characteristics, then it's important. But other than that, if it's just an award, I find it dubious, honestly, because I hear too many award-winning things.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Excellent point, Michael, as usual. And we have about another 5 minutes left. Let me move on to Liederman. Liederman, what have you noticed, and how can Alexander improve his pitch from your point of view?
Yeah, so Alexander, I was thinking, okay, where is Alexander from? Probably Dutch. You mentioned Switzerland. Very different how you would pitch in the US. But so I thought maybe there's something, and maybe that's why the approach is so different. But you said that your pitch was just to get attention, right? From somebody, from your audience, to kind of want to know more. So if you want to get attention, I think there are certain things that it doesn't matter if it is the American market or European market. You need to tell them who you are or why the company is doing this, who the company is. you know, why it's a humble brag is what Nathan typically calls it, but is we need to know that you know your stuff. You guys are a group of people that know what you're doing. You don't have to tell me a lot of things about it, but I need to feel that, okay, I should listen to this guy because he knows what he's talking about. Then the reason why you're doing this, and you talked about, I think you said 75,000 cataract surgeries a day. And then maybe, and you could say, and all of that is paper reporting, perhaps. I can't remember exactly, but we changed that. And tell us real quick why that's a problem that you're solving and why you guys are good at solving that problem, and a little bit about the product. I think if you hit those points quick, you know, that's it. You get the attention of your audience.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Liederman. And I'm going to put a link into the chat box for you, Alexander. It's on Nathan's website, and it's all about this humble brag that Liederman just mentioned. So there are 12 questions there that will help you identify how you can best position yourself with such a humble brag. All right, next up, Chris. Chris, welcome today.
Thank you.
All right, the floor is yours.
Thanks. I only had one kind of thought on this. Everything else has been pretty well covered. When I saw the paper card, it reminded me of a slide rule. And I thought that you could use an analogy that this is like doing your taxes on a slide rule. You know, who does it? Nobody. It might be a good point to make. You know, I did feel like I got hooked a little late in terms of the beginning, but we've covered that very well. And you know, everybody else had great ideas. I don't think I can add any value there, but I kind of thought the slide rule, you know, at least for many people, these folks that, you know, 50 and older like myself, would kind of like it.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Short, sweet feedback, but a very, very important point as always as well. Hi, do you have any comments? We are almost at the end of our 30 minutes. Anything that you have noticed that can help, Alexander?
Yeah, well, I love the graphics that you have on the eyes, the three-dimensional. But also, actually, it's remind me of my second job when I first came out of college. I work on that little machine that measure your eyes for a little bit. And that was like long time ago in California. But if just feed off from other people, if you have like a specific corner of the product or you need, it would be interesting to hear more about that. That's all I have.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's a good presentation. Thank you.
All right. All right. So a lot of feedback points to that credibility, basically, Alexander, right? So if you are taking these kind of things, you know, what makes you unique, and then it really all serves to increase your credibility. And then last but not least, we have Samantha. I'm not sure whether you're calling in on the phone or whether you're actually on the computer, Samantha.
Hey, morning. I'm on the computer as I'm heading on the road.
All right.
So not quite camera ready yet, but
okay.
So I'm coming from a slightly different perspective on this. So I've actually had eye surgery, so I think I already kind of had a vested interest. That, you know, I was like, what's he doing with eye surgery? I'm curious because I've had it. So I kind of found my questions sort of being answered, because I was like, okay, I know there's so many types of surgery, so many conditions with the eye. How do I know he's talking about what I've had? So, and then he'd answer, we're talking about cataracts, you know. And then I think, yeah, okay, great machinery, and so what? And then you say, and yet doctors are still using paper. And so that made me think, yeah, I do think the doctor was jotting notes down on the paper as they took my measurements. So I think because of that vested interest, that kept me hooked. I will say on the flip side, if I didn't have that, interest or that prior knowledge, I think I'd have gotten lost because, you know, kind of as the others have mentioned, the hook was sort of too far in. So that wouldn't, I'd have thought, okay, it would have lost my interest. Now I've heard cataracts and thought, does it impact me right now? So I wasn't drawn in enough. And then I think the other thing is that I know this is aimed at a mixed audience, but it very much felt like talking to a prospective patient, right? It was very much you and your eye. So I sort of felt like what you're showing would be of more interest to a doctor. For me as a patient, yeah, it's great if you know, use all this technology and imagery, but I just want my eyes fixed. There's something about it didn't, again, if I didn't have that prior interest, didn't grab me as much as a prospective patient. I don't know, I guess it comes back to that connection, as we're saying, that emotional connection. But yeah, but interesting. I look forward to learning more.
May I ask here to our audience, who have heard someone with regards to the cataract, who had a cataract surgery or had someone by himself? Can you put your thumb up who already had some connection with it, with the topic? Okay, Samantha. So we had 5, 6. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with an ophthalmologist on a mission trip to South America. So I've seen probably close to hundreds of cataract surgeries. I've been in the room, prepping the eye and translating when the patient is coming out of anesthesia. So I know very well what you're talking about. Pretty cool.
Yeah, so the point was here. So actually I simplified it extreme. So what we are really doing is much more into the details. And I have to look, I have to be aware that I don't go too far away from what we are actually doing. And that's where I have a bit of a struggle. So Michael, or maybe some other one, maybe my last question also to you all. If you have an extreme technical product, how far do you want to simplify?
That's a really good question, and honestly, you see that often. Whether you have apps or drones like we had last week or other things, there's some very technical things that people can get into. The challenge is how far do you want to go into it? And I actually did a video based on Claudio's recommendations here on the dinner party pitch. And the concept behind it is when you talk about an elevator pitch, you get into an elevator with someone, you try to dump as much information as you can. You don't know necessarily where they're at with this, but you need to dump as much as you can because you have a very short time. If you back that off and you start talking like you were talking with someone at a dinner party and they asked you, Alexander, so what's this Optimeyes thing? What would you say? Would you dive into the micron meter things, or would you start talking about how important their eyesight is, or how important the doctors are, or how blind the doctors are in terms of being able to work with their technology? You start with something that's very relatable, and that helps investors who may not be down to that level. It also invites that questions when they say, yeah, I'm actually an ophthalmologist. Tell me some more about it, right? They're gonna now you can start diving another level deep. And if they start saying, okay, well, I've seen these technologies, or I understand the technology, but can you describe this? Or how does the laser measurement thing work? And how does the digital twin measurements get translated into this other platform, blah, blah, blah. They're asking you because you've piqued their interest. They understand what you do. So I know we work on measuring eyes and managing eye surgery. And then they can continue to peel back the layers as you get into more depth. So introduce that something like, how would you talk to your mom about this? How would you talk to your grandmother about this, right? What do you do? Well, you're not going to start talking about the details right away. You're going to give them a broad overview of what it is. And if they want to know more, they'll ask. If they don't want to know more, their eyes are going to glaze over and go, okay, I'm not sure what you're talking about, but that sounds really interesting, right? So you'll be able to gauge when you've hit that wall of the understanding, but they're also going to get to a point of, depending on who the audience is, they're going to ask you the right questions. If you're talking with investors who may not understand digital twins and eye mapping software, what they're going to ask you is, all right, that's really interesting. So are you selling this to the ophthalmologist? Or who's your customer on this and how do they buy it? Are you licensing this type of thing? They're going to start asking you more questions that are related to what they want to know. So that those onion peels that you pull off are going to be related to the interest that your audience is going to give you. But by starting really high, everyone can understand. They all have a context from which they can go. And as you go deeper, they may go left, they may go right. The reality is they're going to get down to that solution where they're asking the questions that may be very technical in nature for the product, or very business related for the investor, or very patient related for the doctor, but they're going to dive down at their level where you want to go. If you try to cover all that at once, you lose everybody, right? Because nobody wants to hear about, doctors don't want to hear about how they're, how you pay for this stuff or whatever. They don't want to hear about, the generics. They want to hear about their specific thing. So that's where it really comes down to is it helps you get to the audience interests much easier because you start at a high level and you kind of work your way down.
Absolutely. Great advice. And if I may add there something, whenever you're looking at the situation where you go like, this is too complex for people to understand, right? The first thing that comes to my mind is use a metaphor. Find a good metaphor for whatever it is. A metaphor or an analogy. I often bring up the example of Steve Jobs when he introduced the iPod originally, right? He could have stood there and said, look, this is a small new portable music player the size of a sardine can with 5 gigabytes of memory and blah, 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 blah. But he didn't. He stood up there and said, this device puts 1,000 songs in your pocket. So this is a wonderful metaphor that explains what something that might be complex in nature actually means for the customer. So to come up with great metaphors, take the features of your product, list every single feature that your product has, and then at the end of these features, say, which means, or what does that mean, right? So you have some feature. For example, if I use the iPod example, size of a sardine can, the dimensions of the device, right? Which means you can take it in your pocket. And if you do that for all of the different features, all of a sudden there is a metaphor that stares you in the face. And then turn it around and start to lead with that metaphor. So instead of saying, this device is so small it fits in your pocket, turn it around. This device fits in your pocket because it's so small.
May I? I have maybe someone. My opening would be, ladies and gentlemen, imagine you will be one of the 30 million cataract patients every year. Would you like to know, before you undergo the presentation, the surgery, so the idea would be that we have with the digital twin, before you will have the surgery, what the outcome would be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're not convinced. Okay.
Along those lines, but you have the perfect set of words to use for this. And Michael actually said something that sparked something in my notes here. You can talk about how the doctors can't see clearly what they're going to do without this software technology. They've been blinded by too much paperwork. Your vision is so powerful, important per person, but you can use all the phraseologies around focus and seeing things clearly in terms of what your software product brings to the ophthalmologist's capacity to do their job more efficiently. You've got all the words there that go with vision, focus, clarity, cleaner lens. I mean, there is lots of easy stuff there, I think, for you.
Yeah, Scotty, those are great suggestions. I just think about that as you were talking through, like your particular perspective on talking about the words like that. It brings it into clarity, to light, through the lens of you have so many different options. What a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, it's all there. It's just, you just need to package it in a way that feels very comfortable for you. And, the digital twin is like huge. I mean, that's like, we get that, right? So I think you'll find it. You're just starting to play with the words, that's why we're here. So really interesting.
Wonderful. All right. So this gets us to the end. Usually we stick to the 30 minutes, but I felt today the feedback was so valuable to Alexander. Adding another 10, 15 minutes. What's that if we can help you improve that pitch so much? So I would like to make you the offer, Alexander. Once you integrate some of this feedback, feel free to come back for a second round, right? Because a great pitch is an iterative process. You know, you're creating the pitch, you're giving the pitch, you receive feedback, you integrate it, give it again, receive feedback, and it's a never-ending process. So please come back at any time in the future again and show us version 2.0 of that pitch. And with that, I would like to ask you very, very briefly, Alexander, was this session here valuable to you? And if so, in what way?
Well, let's start with the good things. It is just amazing to have a worldwide audience and to have thinking with each other, and this is really feeling part of a, let's say, family, and it's very nice feedback, very precise. Well, I have to be critical here. I cannot use everything, but I have to. Let's say it's a huge motor. I've got several. You give me several solutions, and I will have to look which piece I can use and screw it on it and make it even better. And it was very, very useful. And it's really it's just great. It's wonderful to be here. It's really wonderful to have the opportunity. I steal you about we are now it's 9 people here, so 9 hours of time you gave it to me, which is just fantastic. So thank you very much for that. I really enjoy that, and I would love to come back to you. The only question is, how do I need to do that?
Just simply go to the website presenterzone.com/pitchzone. So it's the same place that you scheduled this meeting here today, and I can send you the link again or quickly put it into the chat box as well. That would be the place. Just go there and there's a little button that says I want to pitch. Click on that, you get to a calendar and you see the open spots. Currently we only have 1 more open spot before Thanksgiving. So for the next...
I take that.
Yeah, okay, go to that website there, click on that link, go on the website and put in your information, and then we'll see you somewhere, I don't know, November 16, 17, 18, about a week before Thanksgiving, yeah? And with that, I want to thank everybody, all the coaches here, again, for spending your time helping other presenters week after week after week. This was our 20th session, and I am very, very glad to see how things are going and how together we are helping other presenters to improve. So with that, I wish you a great, great day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I'll see you again next week. Have fun. Bye-bye.